Hi everyone. I already met a couple of you during the round table, and it was mostly students with a couple of educators. And I wanted to share with you what our topic was and what were some of the insights we drew from it. So I'll share the questions here on the screen. So can everyone see my desktop? I'll zoom in, I think, so that we can get a little more um, idea of what's going on. Maybe see that the section we focused on was preparing for AI powered classrooms. And I had mostly students with me on my table, which was a very good experience because I think it's a good opportunity for me to address professors here and faculty members and to tell you what it is that students are really looking for when it comes to engineering education. So here you can see some of the questions are what skills and competencies will future educators need to effectively teach AI in AI-powered classrooms? How should curricula be restructured to prepare students for the AI-driven future? And also what role can professional development programs play in equipping educators with related skills? Okay. And I'm going to intertwine my summary of the discussion with a little bit about what I do in my role at MathWorks and what we do at MathWorks in general. So I'll start out by telling you the general sentiment from the students. It was around the lines of, we are using generative AI. If our universities tell us not to use generative AI, we're still going to use generative AI. Okay? So there's really nothing we can, as educators, do about that. Right? We don't want to stop people from learning skills that are important for their future and for when they want to get jobs. What students are seeing as slightly lacking areas when it comes to engineering education is they feel like they sometimes are not equipped with the basic foundations in the classroom. So I've heard from students who are going to ChatGPT or going to some of these LLM tools and they're asking them to break down concepts to help them better understand. Right? I think that for decades we've been teaching these courses in the classroom. There has to be a way for us to use our traditional method of teaching along with the newer methods that include generative AI. Right? I was speaking to Professor Viraj and we talked about when we're stopping students from using these tools, are we trying to just reinforce our traditional methods of teaching, or do we really care about what students are learning in the classroom and how they're positioned to take jobs up in the future? So that was one thing. The other thing is they want to learn generative AI, right? And what I'm proposing is not that we use generative AI from day one, but we can do our students a favor and give them a roadmap and say that, okay, in the first year, I am going to teach you the basics of programming. Once you know the basics of programming, I'll give you a project. And in that project, in the next 6 months, you can use a generative AI tool to help you. But please first learn the foundations because you need the foundations to understand how to work with the generative AI tool. Okay? And the third one is, like one student came up to me at the end and he said, ma'am, please tell everyone that there are many tools out there and we should be given the opportunity to explore these in the classroom. Okay? So to summarize, I will say there are basically 3 F's in the discussion that we had. The first is foundational knowledge. Students recognize that foundational knowledge is important and they want us to impart it to them as educators. The second is forward-looking methods of teaching. They want to know that we believe in generative AI and to help them secure their futures. And the third F is flexibility. They want us to tell them that these are the tools that are available to you. Choose what you want, do it in an ethical way, do it in a productive way, and make sure you're learning everything that you need for your future. So with that, I'll just quickly show you a couple of slides to reinforce some of these things we talked about. Okay, after the round table, I went and updated some of my slide deck. So the idea here is that there is a huge promise for AI in general and generative AI. And here you can see some great examples of automated driving, the Mars rover, enhancing human capabilities. People who've lost an arm are now able to perform certain activities, and so on. Okay? And the thing is, AI is now not just sitting on computers. AI is coming to your mobile phone. It's coming to your cars. How many of you know that that a general car that you look at has more than 100 million lines of code running on it, right? A car is essentially a computer on four wheels. There is so much of algorithms, there's so much of software running these cars that we're using, which we think of as mechanical devices. And the idea is that they are soon also going to be AI powered, right? So this is how you go from engineering to AI, right? I have my engineering equations here. Some of you probably seen this. I have some AI equations. How do I use them to build a robotic system that can help a person who's lost his arm? The answer is we need to get into AI workflows. And we can't just build AI workflows in the air. We have to learn the foundations of it. Okay? Why does this matter? Why are foundations also important is because companies think it's important. Tomorrow you want to get into a company, this is what companies have identified as the main causes for them to be unable to use AI. And can you see what some of these are? They're related to three main areas, I would say, are how do we integrate it in legacy systems? How do we get more data? And the most important one, in my opinion, where are we going to find people who are able to do these things, right? That is up to us now as educators, as students. We need to equip ourselves for this future. So this is where this conclave is a very good example of this, which is the industry, education, and research triangle, right? We are the educators of today, we are the companies of today. Our job is to empower you such that you are ready to enter the industry when you graduate. Isn't that what you're interested in as students as well, right? And the way we do this, I'm happy to have conversations with you from industry and academia. We support multiple programs with companies like Continental, Bosch, on emerging technology areas. In this case, you can see it's on STV, the 100 million lines of code in a car, that's what we're enabling. Electric vehicle technology, that's what we're enabling, right? AUTOSAR, safety, certification for software, that is what we're enabling. So I know that there are many challenges in the classroom when it comes to teaching foundations. And for that reason, MathWorks is here as a partner to help you incorporate useful, ready-to-use courseware materials in the classroom. Here are some foundations. Start with the foundations and then build up to the more advanced courses. And the slide that you see here with all of these courses are ready-to-use curriculum modules that we have. So if you're an educator, please come and talk to me. The ones circled in or with the orange box are the ones that are AI enabled. So these have dedicated AI components. Okay? This is prescribed by AICTE. This is not just me coming and saying something. This is what AICTE has prescribed in terms of what an AI curriculum should look like. And there you can see the focus on problem solving and numerical computation. Okay? A small example is something on image processing. Over the course of a few weeks, you can teach your students to go from 0 in image processing to be able to perform real-time object detection based on computer vision. And then after you teach them this foundational course, which believe me is foundational and important, you then teach them how to do deep learning based on the principles that they have learned. So sorry I'm rushing through this, but I just want to give you a sense of where the foundational part comes from. Now I know this was the main topic that we were here for, right? Generative AI. And here I have a slide that shows you a little bit of positive news and a lot of negative news around generative AI. The most negative news being students are cheating. That brings us to the question of if it's there, students are going to use it, why not enable them to use it in a productive and in a safe way? So as a professor, you may have certain questions. Your questions are around how do I stop cheating, which I think is a question we should modify and say, how do I enable my students to be successful in the future? And also things like how can I encourage them to use it in a productive way? And as a student, you're probably wondering, can I use this to learn? Can I use this to pick up some cool projects? And the answer is there are options for both and for all. For professors, I don't know how many people here have heard of something called the AI Chat Playground by MATLAB. Has anyone heard of this? This is an LLM wrapper that you can access free of cost. You go and you look up AI Chat Playground on MATLAB, and it's an environment where you interact with an LLM on the left, and you can see it generates code and text, and on the right, you can paste your code and in real time look at what the visualization or how the code runs. Okay? So professors, you can use this in a productive way, free up some time, create lecture plans, create visualizations, design assignments. Here's a very nice example of an assignment we designed. This is open-ended problem solving. We took this on the field at one of our Baha automotive student competitions, and we told the students, I want you to solve this only using Gen AI. If you use your paper and pen, you can solve it in 2 minutes. We want you to figure out how to solve this problem only using generative AI with the chat playground. So students sat down, they spent 30 minutes, some people spent even 1 hour, but they got up only after they figured out what is the right way to use generative AI to solve an open-ended problem statement. And I have a very nice example here where this is the chat playground in action. So I'm a professor, and I've asked the student, actually maybe before I go ahead, how many of you have studied the Taylor series? That is a trick question. All of us have studied the Taylor series. I should have asked how many of you remember the Taylor series, right? So why don't we remember the Taylor series? Because we have no visual representation for it. But here I'm going to show you how to generate code to do that. So here we are asking it solve the Taylor series, and this is how you'd solve it with pen and paper and get an answer. Okay? So you'll get, this is your answer to the Taylor series. But what if I ask it to now do the visualizations? So I'm saying plot the function, the original function, and the Taylor series approximation. Generating some code with 5 terms, and now you'll see the original sine wave and what my Taylor series approximation looks like. I can go and change it from 5 terms to 11 terms. What will happen? My Taylor series approximation becomes much better. So this is the basic idea, right? We're approximating the function, and the number of polynomials we're taking in our terms determines how well we can approximate that sine wave function. So this is for professors on one hand, and the last slide I'm going to keep for students. Okay? So students, you have a look at this. I am a basic graduate. I'm in my first year. I'm trying to learn image processing because I need it for computer vision, which I need for deep learning. So I'm loading in an image here, and I want to figure out how do I perform object detection, all with the help of a copilot, right? So I'm going to interact with it using language and say, isolate the red part. I only want the red parts of this image. Okay? It will give me a step-by-step of how do you do this, what is the logic behind it, and what is the code. So I can use this as a tool to understand, okay, I understand the steps, but what is the code that is actually accompanying it, right? And then I perform something, and it does okay, but it doesn't do great, right? So I need to improve it. I need to improve my system that I have designed. So I say, it's great, but it's picking up some white parts, so what do I do about it? And as I keep prompting these algorithms and or this LLM, I figure out what is the parameter that needs to be changed. So in this case, it tells me you need to change so-and-so value. Go ahead and change it. I change it, I run it. And here it's done a much better job. And if I keep going, hopefully, I'm going to get to a point where I'm able to achieve what is the objective I set out with. Okay? So if I was a student today, I would be using a tool like this to learn about projects, to learn about how do you solve these open-ended problem statements that nobody is really going to teach me how to do explicitly using a textbook. So with that, I will come to an end. And thank you very much for the opportunity. And like I said, remember my message is to educators more today. Students want you to include generative AI. They want you to help them with their foundations, They want you to be forward-looking in how you bring Gen AI into the classroom, and they want you to be flexible. So thank you very much. They can copy it. Yeah, okay. So Professor Viraj asked a very good question, and I will touch upon this a little bit. He asked, if students have access to something like this, how do we give access to the professors? And why this matters is, if I'm an educator, I want the student to use these tools, but I also want to know how you've used it. Because what if you're just blindly using instructions and not learning anything from it? Right? In my role, I work with universities across Asia Pacific. That's the region I'm leading. In Singapore, they are so forward-looking that they say everyone can use generative AI. All you have to do is copy the transcript and copy the commands you used and attach that along with your assignment. Beyond that, you're free to do whatever you want. So just to answer Professor Viraj's question, students, educators, please allow your students to use some of these tools, but also ask them to report on how they've used it and what are the learnings they've had from using them.